Well, Gary Nkombo's silence seems to be too loud, and now people are going fishing, putting up images of him when he had his broken arm because of the struggle that he went through in opposition to push the UPND agenda. And he's pretty much kept quiet, but you can see like majority of the opposition are banking on Gary Nkombo going broke. This is now like how many days away from parliament being dissolved and nothing, no sign from that. It seems to be happy, but anyway, people are instigating that he gets in the ring and contests some seat. And CR1 put up these allegations, which was reported by the Zambian Scorpion, and he says, politics of loyalty, Gary Nkombo, Lungu, and Hakainde Hichilema are exposed. So CR1 writes, he puts up his analysis of attached to an image of Gary Nkombo and the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, and he says the CR1 being quoted here, that's a Nigerian prophet who pretty much claims to be a prophet. He says Gary Nkombo was closer and more comfortable with Lungu than Hakainde Hichilema. A friend of your enemy should never be your friend. You cannot sit and drink comfortably with my enemy, then come back and tell me that you love me. Never. That's CR1. So everyone is just shooting in the dark here, trying to make sense of how pretty much the relationship between Hakainde Hichilema and Gary Nkombo went south and where it went south really. So this post being tagged to CR1 is also him. He has no facts. He's simply shooting in the dark. Because Gary Nkombo sitting next to Edgar Chagwa Lungu, meeting up with the opposition leaders, does not show disloyalty to Hakainde Hichilema or the UPND, because really he proved his loyalty to the UPND and Hakainde Hichilema in particular, because it was more convenient and more comfortable for Gary Nkombo to go rogue and pretty much ditch Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND in opposition. If you remember when GBM wanted to put up that coup pretty much of the UPND, trying to take over the UPND. One of the people that is alleged to have been involved first of the time, getting the first information is Gary Nkombo. And he decided not to work with GBM and went back to Hakainde Hichilema and reported to Hakainde Hichilema. And that's how the relationship between GBM and Hakainde Hichilema went south, and GBM was later forced to resign and get out of the UPND, then rejoin the PF. It's because of that. So if a man can prove that level of loyalty, then what do you demand from a man? Even the time when Hakainde Hichilema was charged with that treasonous charge, and he was picked up at his house, which is now referred to as Community House, the first responders from amongst the members of parliament was Gary Nkombo, and he was actually slapped and beaten by the paramilitary guys who were on site then at the time. So then I don't know what yardstick you guys are using to evaluate someone's loyalty. So in terms of loyalty, I do not see how that can be a question in this context. They might have just had some differences outside that, but their loyalty is definitely not one of them, because he had proven it, and it was more convenient for him to have betrayed HH in opposition as they build up. Because one of the most strongest contenders Hakainde Hichilema had in the UPND was Gary Nkombo. If Gary Nkombo had stood up and say, hey, I'm contesting as president of the party, it would have been Kafafa without a doubt. That's a known fact. So if a man could hold back his power at a time and let his friend run for a number of times that Hakainde Hichilema failed to clinch the presidency, then I don't see what yardstick you'll be using at this point now to say he's not being loyal. But anyway, that's CR1's allegation. He alleges to say Gary was more closer to Edgar Chagwa Lungu as opposed to HH there. And then obviously more platform of saying says the quiet stance of Honorable Gary Nkombo warrants scrutiny. So more people are analyzing why Gary has been quiet. Warrants scrutiny, but let's not jump to conclusions. His integrity speaks volumes about his character, and it is time for collective reflection. His silence speaks volumes. Let us demand to know. Let us demand to know. We are pretty much. I don't know what English is trying to use there, but pretty much as somebody saying, Gary Nkombo's loyalty cannot be questioned at this point. And his silence is too loud that people are wondering. Because one thing that is very, very apparent is that Gary Nkombo still wants to stay in active politics. That one is very clear. Because if you remember, even in the build-up before he was not allowed to fight in his papers for him to contest one of the party seats and then obviously be nominated to the Central Committee, which the UPND runs. He was not allowed in that context. He made it clear to say he had sacrificed a lot for the UPND, for people who have just joined the party now to come and want to oust the people that saved the party and pretty much got their hands broken and paid their dues. So meaning that goes to show to say he still has the energy and he wants to stay in active politics, but the circumstances seem not to be allowing. So at this point, he's left with no choice because it clearly is not going to be adopted on the UPND ticket. He's not even part of the leadership at this point. So is he going to go independent or is he simply going to suffer in silence and just be in the background? That's why people are analyzing at this point, because he has not spoken about it. He has not made it clear whether he's going to contest in August, recontest his seat as an independent or any other party, or simply let it be. Since he cannot contest on the UPND, obviously Mazabuka platform says Honorable Gary Nkombo insists he should not be voted out because he suffered for the United Party for National Development there. You see, so more statements keep on coming back, but the people of Mazabuka Central Community are not looking for history lessons. They are looking for results. Leadership is not about how much you suffered for a political party. It is about have you delivered for the people. After nearly 20 years as member of parliament, the real question is simple. What tangible development can you point to? What roads were built? What schools were upgraded? What economic opportunities were created? So they asked some questions to say, that's what it is. We're not going to use the yardstick of, no, I suffered for the UPND. What have you done in the constituency in the past 20 years? That platform asks Gary there. And Honorable Gary Nkombo there. Pretty much everybody is putting in their 2 cents at this point. Honorable Nkombo maintained he will not respond to calls from individuals urging him to step down as a member of parliament, stating that he will remain in his seat until the people no longer want him. That's another statement that simply shows he has no intentions of stepping aside. So is he going to recontest? And if he is he going independent? Is he picking up a party? That is not known, because what is very apparent is that the likelihood of Gary Nkombo being adopted by the UPND is highly unlikely, based off what has happened in the build-up, the recent convention that they held, and the drama that was around that. So the question is, if he intends to contest, on what ticket? Is he going independent? And if he's going independent, how does that going to sit? We wait and see how that plays out. If not, he's just going to let it slide and not recontest. But anyway, for most of these interactions, it seems like, hey, he's actually going that direction. And this is Gary Nkombo interacting with his family earlier on.
Yes. Yeah. No. I'm waiting for Gali is coming. Yeah. Tekanya balele tefini. Yes. Yeah. No. I'm waiting for Gali is coming. Yeah. You wait. Sorry. I'm sorry. Where is Gali?
He's coming. Let me go check.
No, this is not right. This is not right.
So that extract that is being used in that video by his daughter is during the 2021 elections, when Gary Nkombo was pretty much where that name of him being a Mazembe and the bulldozer came from. It's because of how strong he was defending the vote for the UPND at the time. And that's what the kid is playing with. And then you can see him with his granddaughter. The lady behind the camera is his wife. And then the girl with the child, that's his, I think that's the youngest daughter, the only daughter that he has, Gary Nkombo there. So you could see he still wants to stay. Yes, he's spending time with the family, but that political element is very active. Now the question is, what move is he going to make next? Because yes, in as much as yes, he's enjoying his time with the family, he can only do it for so long before the energy wants you to be very active in other activities. But he's, at the moment he's spending time with his grandkid and family time. His silence is too loud that people are making different analyses and assumptions.
That's like captured properly. It looks like captured properly.
Anyway, let's wait and see what move Gary Nkombo is going to make. But clearly, it seems like he's likely to be the chess move if he maintains his position to stay in active politics. If he goes silent, then it is what it is. And then Trevor Mwindi should show some respect to Gary Nkombo. At times, choosing silence on certain matters is a sign of wisdom. So people that are intending to contest against Gary Nkombo, they are being advised by different platforms. That's according to Southern Zambia. Put up a statement says Honorable Gary Nkombo has remained quiet since his demotion, and bringing him into public discussions in this manner is unnecessary. He has contributed significantly to the growth and strengthening of the party. While he may have made mistakes, it is important to acknowledge his loyalty at a time when some trusted members of the United Party for National Development were being influenced by the Patriotic Front and the movement for multi-party democracy. Gary Nkombo remained steadfast and continued to defend the party even in parliament. Respect such commitment should always be upheld. And that's just a reality. You cannot question his loyalty. So I don't know what he had to see. Whatever differences they had, these young guys who are trying to chip in like that Trevor Mwindi, some respect should definitely be accorded to Gary Nkombo. But anyway, it's politics at the end of the day. Everybody's trying to make it to the same position. So whatever route they decide to take is up to them. More people analyzing the situation of what's going on. And then his sister put up a message of happy birthday, sharing Gary Nkombo. That's him with his sister there. Nachilima Nkombo there, birthday wish. And then there's a conversation obviously by Bino Mpundu asking to say, who is Mazoka to this country we want to show? Honestly, how do you rename Geoffrey Yuka Chitaru target to Anderson Mazoka? Why would anyone do such a despicable thing? So it seems like Top Plaza has been renamed from Geoffrey Yuka Chitaru to Anderson Mazoka, the founding president of the United Party for National Development. So Bino Mpundu asks to say what criteria is being used, what contribution did Mazoka do to the nation? That's Bino Mpundu, kind of member of parliament. He asks the question there. And then people in the comment section are simply saying that's a prerogative of the president. You also are sent to presidency and you can choose your people. Pretty much that's the argument he's receiving. George Mutonga even doubled down to say, in fact, the Top Plaza should be beefed up, use an AI image to beef up the image, say that's actually the way it's supposed to be. You can see with enhanced bulls, and you can see Akaide and Anderson Mazoka image there. So he says actually the Top Plaza should be refurbished to that. Obviously, that back and forth is going on with regard to that. SP, that's the Socialist Party, urges sincerity, honest, says opposition unity without integrity is useless. And then Kalaba will also Akaide Hichilema, that's in the daily liberation. I will resign. If you vote for me and not for President Hichilema, I will resign. People make such statements out of trying to. This is what they call bootlicking, really. You are elected and then you say, I'm going to resign. Why not just stay away in the first place and decide to campaign for the presidency? That statement makes no sense. But anyway, people will say what they can say to please the powers that be at this point. Sean Tembo delegates defeat. As you may be aware, Sean Tembo is now a running